willing to sacrifice for your people? Do you understand the conditions of your people?
I understand.
And I feel
Wait, hold on real quick, Pop, and I'll pass it to you. But me and China, we going back and forth real quick. And I think we're gonna bring ourselves to an understanding of each other and our positions. So China, you do have a black business, but how many storefronts do you have?
I have 3.
You have 3. Can you be at all 3 at one time?
I can't.
Okay, so look, as you progress in your business, and I wish you nothing but growth, and I know you're going to manifest that, because I can hear it in your voice and in your heart. As you go from 3 storefronts to 10, and 10 to 20, and 20 to 40, how often can you be at the number 1, the first, the flagship store?
You're right.
So then at that point when you have met your black excellence and your dominance as far as the goals that you set forth, you will then have to strategize on which store and why and how you move at that point. And so that's where I was getting. That's what that is the mindset that I was trying to instill in my young brother, who is no longer with us, in the conversation that we had. That's all I was saying, is that as you know, more money, more problems is in layman's terms, right?
Absolutely.
But as we progress as black people and we grow to a certain stature, if only in our own right, we have to move different, right? Or else we do put ourselves back in that same trap. So that's all I was saying. And Pop, you can go.
I appreciate that.
What I was going to say is that I wanted to speak from a kid's perspective, right? So I got a STEM program that's a traveling STEM program. It go from school to school. I'm from Houston. I'm from the south side of Houston. You know, my neighborhood is considered one of the 6 most dangerous in America. I still go back to my neighborhood, but the answers that children have from different communities really hurt you if you hear where they're coming from. Like, when I go in, I study Dr. Neely Fuller and Francis Chris Wilson. So I ask them the questions that they talk about in their platform. And I ask the kids, are you getting the education to bring back to your community? And everywhere I go, when I talk to the Asians, they say yes. When I talk to the white boys, they say yes. When I talk to us, they say they're not even considering staying at home. And I wanted to commend you, China, because I done had businesses in the hood, and I still do. I operate in my neighborhood all day long. And I'm pretty sure you dealt with break-ins. I'm pretty sure you dealt with maybe something that happened around and you had to be questioned. But would you rather someone else be in charge of owning that store and their attitude and what they have to bring to the community, or would you rather it be you? And just in that aspect, I say that's how we create the full circle of understanding our community, because our children gotta look up and see us there, no matter what we gotta go through, even if it ain't actually being there in person, but you got to be the owner. You got to make sure that it's somebody of color that's a representative, so that when they look in there, when they go in there, when they know it's there, they can say it's possible. Because voting, praying, even creating propaganda not going to work for us. We have to be the primary motivation. We can't have real liberation from politicians. We got to do it in the streets.
Absolutely. I agree.
I would say something on that. Exactly. China and all y'all make a point to that real quick. To what Pop's saying and what China's saying in the African American community. I feel like the biggest part to it that we missing is the accountability and understanding. China said something that means a whole lot to me. You know, being a young African American coming from poverty, we don't understand that we weren't violent people. And a lot of the things that the listeners and the people got to realize is the hatred that we put amongst our community is continuing to be a cycle that we are ignoring. We ignoring what's instilled, what's put in us. And when it comes to saying, oh, I can't own something in my community, people run from it and we spend our dollars in all of the wrong places. And when we get our artists and the people that we look up to, our communities is being governed by us, but we don't realize it. The music, the fashion, the social media stuff, and we are afraid to put it back into the community when all we have to do is stand up and be them statues of the game. Like you said, if you own 10, 20, you can only be at one place, but the ability to be able to put that back into the neighborhoods, put people back in the neighborhoods, and not be afraid of what's going to happen is what's going to deter the negligence that's going on in our communities, the killing. We like to say now, we like to deter away from black on black. I'm afraid of what's going to happen is what's going to using that to keep us down. They're not using it to keep us down. We have to be acceptance of what's really going on. We kill at a higher rate than any race. We like to compare ourselves to white people and this and that when our focus should be in our community. We should focus on how do we keep our young black men from hating the next black man when we all have the same 24 hours in a day, the same 24 hours, regardless of what your circumstance is, regardless of what your situation is. We all have the same thing. Some of our parents smoke dope. Some of our parents work. Some of us come from double-parented households. Some of us come from single-parented households. But when you live life, you're able to accept accountability, be patient with your people, teach, give back, touch somebody. All of the mental health issues that go on in our community could be kept in our community if we literally take the time and take the accountability to give it back. And a lot of people don't want to do that because of the cliche that, oh, it's dangerous. It's dangerous in every community. We don't know about every community because we black, and we take so much time worrying about what other people doing other than fixing our own communities and policing our own communities. And that's where we need to be able to stand on that statue. So I agree with both sides of what it is, but I just think that every day we get on this app, like, we should create more community-based policing and more community-based governance of our young kids that's growing up out here feeling like I don't have a chance, and the only thing they got to look up to is some of the bullshit that goes on in the communities.
Can I say something real quick? The narrative that our people are fleeing our communities based on Reagan dropping in our communities is speaking.
Are you technical difficulties?
Okay. Well, could I fill the gap real quick on this?
Go ahead.
Hey everybody, it's Clara again. I've been listening diligently for like the last 3 hours and spoke earlier. But for those that have just joined or what have you, I'm a professional diversity, equity, and inclusion practitioner. I've spent the majority of my time in politics, recently at the presidential level. So Brielle, thank you for everything that you did and that entire team in Arizona. That was incredible. But about the mindset, and I think one of the things I heard someone say earlier about educating our people and understanding kind of just our power within our own communities. We have a $1.2 trillion revenue generating capacity, excuse me, within the Black community in and of itself, and yet we purchase our power within our own communities that are generated outside of us and literally take the aspects of our culture and our magic outside of our own communities. If we could, I'm wondering if that is one step to perhaps, again, combating that sentiment, that belief of scarcity that has been kind of forced down our throats, and help us understand that we have a large consumer buying power. And perhaps if we were to put that right back into the communities from which we come, then perhaps that mindset of scarcity could be challenged, perhaps even mitigated and eradicated eventually. And I'm posing this to see if anybody else has maybe thought through this, and any business owners that are doing just that. My family's originally from Southside Atlanta, next to Carver Homes, which no longer exists. Plenty of family members that were in the Black Panther Party. Huey's from Monroe, and my family's from 7th Ward, New Orleans. So I actually think that this whole circuitous process of gentrification and white flight is intentional. It's planned, and again, buying into narratives that have been posed upon us and not recognizing the power, the consumerism, the buying power that exists within our communities, all if we were to kind of readjust and really examine what we're being fed and what mindset we want to have from here on out. So back to the question, like, what are we going to do with that $1.2 trillion buying power that is generated within our community alone to change the way that we view our communities, how we can reestablish our communities and not be in fear of going back to the very communities that we at times are running from?
I have a strategy to put in play. Game was talking about we need strategy. China was saying how in her neighborhood where she owns her businesses that she's there, she's present, yet she feels like the community can't trust her, or she doesn't feel like the community is built on trust. I want to say that, China, you're already doing the work Like you already doing, you're showing black kids that they can be something other than what we usually see, drug dealers, etc. Right? You're showing them that you can be a owner. You can own this building. You can own this product. You can own something. And that's what W.B. Du Bois went back to when he talked about the talent intent. That we have to go back, those who have achieved something, enlightenment, achieved wealth, have to go back and teach the rest of the 90% how to do it. Now, it's going to come with struggle because everyone knows that we've been psychologically bred at this point to always hate on each other. But there is 1,700 people in this room who are all thinking like-mindedly, and we are all dispersed around the country. So the strategy is, hey, let's come out with points that we say, hey, we want to do this for economic growth, we want to do this for financial growth, et cetera, et cetera. Position those who are in the community. I myself, I am present in my community. I literally paint murals in black and brown communities because there is none. I'm from the hundreds. There are no murals where I'm from. Yet, in everywhere else around the city of Chicago, there are murals, and people, if you know anything about murals, putting it on buildings, it increases the real estate value of that building, and it increases the morality of that neighborhood. So we need stuff like that. So when we have people that are foot to pavement, ground workers in the community, that's what we need. And it goes back to the UPU, the intercommunalism. That was the strategy. Go into the communities, find the person that's in those communities doing the work already, position them for what they want and what they need to further empower the communities. You know, build the relationships that we need. And it's nothing for us to own a security company and start securing our own neighborhoods. You can own your own security company, and you can have it to where they can hold and carry weapons. Not to say that we need that, but my point is we can own a security company and we can secure our own neighborhoods. And it's nothing for us to start our own free programs that encourage that. You know, there's an organization called New Era, and they literally police the neighborhoods of Chicago and Detroit, and they go around and make sure in the interrupt violence, wherever it may be. So it's people that's doing it. It's just that we need to understand and know where they are, so we can, you know, work together.
Yeah, absolutely. But one of the other things that we need to talk about too is we are on the precipice of one of the largest wealth transfers in the history of this country. Exactly. We also have to go back to our communities and make sure that we are protecting grandma's home. I don't care if she owns that home in South Central LA, with X, Y, and Z. If she doesn't have a trust in California, if she does not have a trust, if she only has a will, that is going to go through the probate court. And if you're trapped in probate, specifically in California, because that's one of my licensed jurisdictions, if you're trapped in probate court, you can be there for 18 months or longer. People are losing their homes just by going through court process that is 100% avoidable. We have to also protect what we have already gained so that it can pass to the next generation to continue doing exactly what you're talking about. Securing our neighborhoods, making sure there's opportunities, keeping them black, keeping black neighborhoods black, and not allowing people to buy us out of our own communities. So 100%, I just wanted to add that additional piece.
That was very important.
I have a question for everyone, because I've heard us talk about a lot of amazing and important things. This is K-Cola, by the way. I heard us talk a lot about financial and money. And I want to talk about character, because you can have all the money in the world and still be jealous and not want to see people win. You can still be unhappy. So what are some tools that you guys can offer to this room and to our community in terms of character building? Because you can be broke and poor and still be a happy, loving, you know, non-violent person. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Facts. I think if we ever talk about reparations and the whole construct of reparations and what that may or may not mean to certain people, I think like we have to have basically counseling. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You got it, JP.
I think Clubhouse is messing up, and it'd be like this voiceover thing where no one actually has their mic off on, is somebody else. Like I've seen that happen a lot. So it's like
as the room grows, you will find that there are technical issues with the app that are unavoidable. So we'll just wait until it silences, and then just restart or pick up where we left off. Because they didn't expect everybody to hop on this fast. I guess the app is fairly new, and they're trying to increase bandwidth on their servers. So keep that in mind.
And that was Ray speaking. That wasn't an error. That was Ray.
Hey, Gabe. Can I ask you
okay.
Can I ask you a question, Gabe?
Go ahead, and then I'll pass it back to JP because I don't want to take him off.
And I'm asking this question in the utmost sincerity because the sister who just spoke talked about character. And I wonder, we've talked about how powerful music and lyrics. You gave that incredible story about Nipsey. Do you feel as an artist, because your words in the room carries more weight? I mean, I talk on TV, they'll take you with them everywhere on their iPad, their iPod, whatever. Do you think one of the things that is adding on or not helping our community is artists putting back an image that doesn't uplift us? And because you are a gatekeeper, because you are such a popular artist and have been doing it for such a long time, I mean, I ask this again as your brother, not in a combative way, and I don't know if people would have asked it, but you put out music that is so popular, so catchy, but you put a style of music out that if you were a white person, they would never let you do it. We talk about guns and drugs. We put out a music where we are killing ourselves in our own music, and it's going into the ears of people that never see this side of you, never hear this side of you, never understand your intellect, your imagination, and the things you're trying to do. So as an artist, as with responsibility, do you think that that's feeding into some of what the original question of the room is asking?
Does that fall on me?
Let me, you want to say what you want to say before I answer this question?
I was just going to say, does that responsibility fall on the artist then or on the community?
I was going to say,
but that's why
all right, okay. So I heard Luna, who I respect, and Ray, who's my friend on and off the app. Let me answer the question as honest as I can. And I'm an open book, Shagun, and I stand in my truth. I
got something else to build on this question too.
Yeah. Here's the thing. These are my views, and I'll answer. And hopefully, my views in the way that I distribute music in the past, in the beginning, early stages of my career, and how I do it now. Hopefully, there's an answer to your question within. I've never asked anyone, right, with my music, or told anyone to go pick up a red rag and, hey, go try to gangbang. This shit is cool. What I've done is sort of been a reporter of either things that I have either seen firsthand, heard about through relative stories, or witnessed or experienced myself. That is who I am. That is my music. I've kept it as 100% as I could, right? And anyone that knows me knows that I am an intellect as well as one of the worst hood niggas known to Compton. I mean, I've done it all, right? And I've come to a point in my career, in my life at 41, where I'm trying to go back, right those wrongs, teach people, transcribe information, and prescribe different, different outlooks, if only to my kids. But let's just say I do it, more outgoing and I'm in the hoods, and I'm talking to kids and whatever, right? But as music changes, and it does, right? And as the social media that we thought we were connecting on, prior to this one, which in reality we weren't. Kids are coming up, and this is where the word cap has derived from. There's so much cap on Instagram, so many different lifestyles that are being portrayed that are not reality. That as a new artist comes up every 5 seconds, they're adapting the lifestyles in the ways of of the artists that exist, right? And even the artists that exist, and not to shit on anybody, but I know a lot of these dudes, and they not really about that life. They're not really doing the shit that they're doing, that they say they're doing. And the ones that are, I can't even reward that these days, because it is subsequently ending up in their demise, right? Like there's a rapper, right? And you guys don't know him because he died at 24 last night. And after I got out of the room that we were in yesterday, which was a powerful room, I sat by myself. I read this story. I researched it, and I seen it happen on the internet. And I said, "Damn, well, this ain't gonna end well." But I said that lightheartedly, and I didn't think nothing of it. And this was about 4 months ago. And I'll send you guys to the Instagram page probably at the end of this conversation, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. There's a kid, a rapper named Block Boy, and I hope that that I can speak on this story without offending anybody that's listening that might know him or whatever. But his thing on the internet, right, was going to any hood in Los Angeles, and I say any motherfucking hood, any hood, and saying, "Yeah, I'm in your hood. I'm taking your hood. This is my hood." And he would do videos. He would pop up in Grape Street Crips and the Jordan Down Projects. He went to my hood and trolled me, and I'm in Gang's hood. This and that, and I'm taking this hood, and so forth. Well, he went to one hood and he didn't make it out. They killed him in his car before he could even get out because they probably saw him coming and just thought, "Yo, we ain't not here." So again, man, it's social media, and these days, these kids, not me per se, and we had problems with capping long before Instagram. There was Twitter, then before that MySpace, and before that Black Planet or whatever. So yeah, it is a problem, and it's been a problem. Me these days in my music, I still drink, I still smoke, but that is me. But I don't say go drink and go smoke. These are some things that I am sort of especially after hearing 19 Keys, Shaka Bars, and K Cola and Bashir talk about strengthening my immune system, and Blue Pillar talking about aligning my soul with the stars. Yeah, I'm conflicted, and I have adjustments to make to my daily routine in my life that will prolong my life. So yeah, I'm a work in progress too. I'm not holier than thou. I'm not the Pastor Mace, not to ridicule him for his transition out of hip hop and then back in. I am a mere man standing in his truth, and so I can only give it to you the way that I know to. And I will say that, yeah, these days, man, these artists these days, I shake my head every fucking day because I'll ask a kid in my DM, "Yo, send me some music," and this nigga is obviously poor, not elevated in his life yet, and I come from humble beginnings too, poor as a motherfucker, so I can relate to that aspect of it. But talking about Lamborghinis and how many people he killed, and I'm seeing, talking about Gucci belts when in fact he's on his motherfucking Nike sweats. It ain't a Gucci belt in sight. So I'm saying that shit is just follow behavior from the other artists now. Am I telling the new artists who I might listen to their music or might be a fan of to change the way that they're doing it? No, I'm not doing it. I'm just trying to bring Sagoon to understand the aspect, or the where I come from, the room I come from in hip hop, and where I'm trying to right some of these wrongs in my own right on with my platform. And again, look at the room I created. I created this room after consulting with Gigi and Nikki, and these are and so this is me trying to give back. They're younger people in here. Bashir's 25 years old or something like that. I'm 41. They're D-Jack, who is an NFL fucking almost damn near probably be a Hall of Famer when he's done, that is still grass-rooted to the 60s Crip and can't do anything about it. That's just culturally how we grew up. So again, he's here. He's been listening, ain't said one word, Brother Sagoon. So yeah, man, we are taking the necessary steps to right the wrongs, to better our future. I do have children who won't ever put a rag in their pocket because of my lessons and my the steps on the ladder that I climbed carefully to become the person I am today, man. So again, I'll give it to somebody else, but I will say, there's a problem there, and it has to be fixed. I'm one man, and this is just an olive branch on my tree of helping us as Black people as a whole, not young or old, just as a race in my own fight. So, hopefully the answer was in there, bro, and if it's not, then, me, I got you. We know how to find each other. We can prolong this conversation. I would love to sit with you and really figure it out on both ends because, you are on the other side of the fence, being a husband and a father, and yeah, we both have solutions and information that we can prescribe to each other to help in the fight. But we here, right?
No, you answered it, and that was the thing. I wanted the people in the audience, even the people on stage, to hear that game that they may not kind of separate from the music. Because when you say you're 41 and Bashir, there are people on the panel that are younger and enlightened. But sometimes when it gets filtered down to the radio, the video, what they see, like you said, they feel that that's what they have to be, and they don't know what you said about I live in Calabasas now. Before I go into my hood, I make this phone call. Like they don't. A lot of the times they don't hear that. And no, it's not the responsibility of one man to raise everybody up. But I love the fact, like you said, you're opening these rooms, you're bringing this type of swirling knowledge where everybody gets a chance to speak and understand. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that for the people that don't know, this is the game that I know, right? Like this is the person that I know. Aside from the musician, this is the person that I know, and I want to make sure that person is known.
Hey yo, real quick, do understand that I am still on my, I'm still on my growth on my growth path, and that just as I have had my sea moss this morning, right, in my protein shake, as you will, and then taking a teaspoon of my black seed oil, that I will be smoking a blunt after we're done here. And so I'm merely a human in progress, man. I am growing daily until I figure out, what's best for me as a person. So what works for me might not work for you, might not work for them, but I'm growing and I'm happy. I'm elated at the fact that we're having these rooms and that I have self-growth this fast. You know what I'm saying? Because my change happened 14 days ago. I'm new to all this I love myself, but now that I'm looking back, I didn't love myself the way I needed to love myself. And so I will love myself better tomorrow than I am today, because now my antennas are raised and I'm hearing you guys talk and I'm accessing this information. And not only am I accessing the information, I am implementing it into my fatherhood and my relationships, my friendships. I sat with my mother for the last few days. I haven't done that, and consistently. I haven't sat with my mother in her home in 5 days straight since I was 17 fucking years old. So I'm saying I'm getting back to the roots of who I am and my dominance as a Black American male.
My brother, I just want to add to what you had to say real quick. It's Ray Keys, Jay. The two things. The first thing I want to say is, bro, you only been on the app for 10 days, right? And when I came to the crib and the records that you played me, your content has already changed. So as you're continuing to be on the app and elevating and everything like that, your content and what you say is going to be in the music anyway. The second thing that I wanted to say too about what Brother Shagun was talking about, as far as the kids, and they carry you in the iPods and they absorb what they want to listen to, because it's crazy. Game, especially in the Born to Rap album, he actually has a lot of stuff that he do be addressing and he be talking about, right? But as far as the culture, they don't care about listening to that, right? It's like Kendrick Lamar is like one of the greatest rappers, and he touches on so many subjects, right? And he's one of the greatest lyricists, right? But niggas is bumping Drake. Like, they don't really want to absorb that type of information. When they're in that type of vibe, then they might throw on a Kendrick. But niggas is listening to Drake. Niggas is listening to what they want to listen to, because that's what they've been conditioned to. So it's not even necessarily the artist's fault or the artist or what people are listening to. That's what they like to listen to, which is kind of crazy. I mean, I don't know how we as a culture kind of shift, the momentum of the kids. And
I do. I know how to do it. We give it to the leaders. Look, we give it to the leaders of the new school. There are futures. There are 21 Savages who's on this app in and out of rooms. I've seen 21 Savage in his own rooms, moderating how he moderates. And I've seen him in different rooms, power circle rooms, black business rooms. I see him going around and doing his thing. He is the leader. He is one of the leaders of the new school. There are rappers that want to be 21 Savage. There are kids that want to be 21 Savage. There are kids that are not rappers and will never be rappers that look up to 21 Savage. My kids, as motherfucking whitewashed and square as they are, love and bump 21 Savage. And so you got to understand that there are people in place in the right places. And again, this is why Clubhouse is such an amazing app, even in its early stages. There are people and pieces in place that are going to shift the culture. So let's talk about it. Let's have these conversations, and let's give the young kings their space to create and dominate too, so that they can bring back. Because we get to a point where we got to understand that I'm 41, and not that I'm out of touch. It's just easier to have 21 do that for, you know what I'm saying, the new age rappers and the new age listeners, man. So again, there are people already in place, bro, making this happen, and this is amazing. The dialogue, the information is being prescribed. The older heads, the younger heads, the doctors, the lawyers, the black business owners, all of the queens in the room, all of the kings, bro. We understand that we are here. Like, we are here. We are on the press. We're on the precipice of like of a fucking universal shift. Like, you should be able to see it. It's not just COVID. COVID is just one attribute that is a part of the shift. But there's so many different things. I heard real estate. I heard political things. Like, you got to understand, step back and look at where we are. This is the time to implement change. This is the time to have open dialogue. This is the time to, I was about to say shake hands, but you might want to be wary of that. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, this is the time to open the floor to hear, listen, absorb, understand, learn, and progress as individuals, and to come together as a unity or a village, if you will, to implement a dominant change as black people. Understand where we are and know your job, and don't knock nobody else down on their journey, because we're all headed in the same direction. Even someone is heading backwards, we can pull them, turn them around and tell them, hey, bro, the sun is up here. Let's get there together. Shit.
Real quick.
And when I was coming up, all popular rap was conscious, Black Power. It was Public Enemy, Tribe Called Quest. I learned more stuff from those rappers back then.
KRS-One, right?
KRS-One. Everybody, the popular rap of that time was all about teaching people, building, all of that stuff. Most of us who went to Morehouse, and all the HBCUs back then, it's because of that. Like, Spike Lee's movement was happening. Like, every black empowerment movement was happening in media and in music and film all at the same time. So like you said, the younger guys, if they embrace this and they move forward, then you get more, people like, folks that came out of my generation who were all about Black Power, where the generation right before us was like buppies. They were black yuppies. They want to be like yuppies, and they kind of mixed up and lost in the sauce. But hopefully they do that, bro.
We got people that will condemn. We got people that will condemn the younger generation, right? Condemn them for a lot of things that are going on. Blame them for a lot of what's going on, when it's all just, mostly can fall under the tree of generational curses. But have those people that condemn this new age of kings and queens, have they heard a brother like Bashir talk in his young age, in his young wise mind? So again, man, we have to just open it up, keep open minds, and understand that there are minds out there that are already in place to supplement change. And yeah, y'all can have the floor.
But that's another way of liberation. That's another way of liberation.
One of the things that we're talking about here, and this is declarative again, is also the intentionality in programming. And yes, you're still talking about generationally millennials and zennials. But when it comes to, and I know we have some educators in the audience because a few of them have been texting me. But when you talk about social emotional learning that builds character, which I think was one of the original questions, that starts even younger than the influencers that you're mentioning now.
Of course.
And if I thank you, and if I may, again, growing up in Southside Atlanta during white flight, the Atlanta you all see now is not what it was then. You had displaced homeless people. You had no revitalization of black businesses off and on Auburn Avenue. Nobody wanted to be in downtown Atlanta, but there was a Catholic school for black Catholics called Our Lady of Lourdes. And we had a counselor that came in every week, a black counselor that poured into us from the time we were 6 years old to the time we were 12. And that intentional program talked about intestinal fortitude. It talked about resilience. It talked about emotional intelligence. All of those things. And not to say that, we didn't listen to music and all those other things. But again, as a community, we're not a monolith. We can do both. Dr. Michael Eric Dyson talks about bidialectism, that we are a community that can get the message across with a language that is all our own, with a culture that is all our own. And that doesn't mean that we're just following one path. So I think kind of getting into these elementary schools and not just teaching them what's in the textbooks, because honestly, that's not the truth. We know that's not the case. But as a community, if we can really focusing on the emotional intelligence of our youth, very, very early. And again, being very intentional about the programs that are going, because at this point, we're all at a stage kind of enlightenment. I'm sitting here listening to you, Game, and listening to everybody on this call. It's like we've all kind of gone through a couple of cycles to get to where we are. But how do we instill that much earlier when you're talking about kings and queens kind of being grown at age 12 and 13 and the things that they've seen and the things that they've been exposed to via music and other arts? But how do you also pair that with positivity, with positive reinforcement? And I just think it has to start a lot sooner.
We've got to fight for that, for real, because what you're speaking right now makes sense. And I grew up in Miami, Florida, and I learned more about the human reproductive system in 9th grade long before I heard a term called mental health, long before I heard a term called emotional intelligence. And as we're fighting for social justice and all these other changes, we've got to fight for education reform, right? We're going to fix some problems in our lifetime. We will. I know that we will, because of rooms like this, because everybody in here with the different ideas and different intellects and different perspectives from all over the continent that we live in, right? But we've got to fight so that we can, reach back down. And we've also, like Game was saying, but we've also got to reach forward to the youth, and that education and what are the resources? I think to Kay's question originally is, I think we've got to teach our kids about meditation. We've got to teach our kids about proper character. And we've got to start, it needs to be a push-pull strategy. We've got to do it in the homes, we've got to do it in the churches, and we've got to do it at the schools, 100%.
One thing that I wanted to say, I just wanted to add this real quick, is that, ultimately we're talking about what our responsibility as adults and as a community, and, we talk about the game and what his be like, I don't think that the responsibility solely lies on, and don't take me at this point that I feel as if there hasn't been a lot of change. There's change in this culture going on in this room right now. There's words that didn't exist, veggie back, the goulash. Like, there's things in this culture that's being, in 10 days, Game, you've been on here, that has resonated with the audience, and people really, they, for lack of better words, they fuck with it. And I think that we talked about the youth and things like, I don't think anybody on here is incompetent or isn't raising their children. I think that what we're talking about is the people that don't have the means or even the time to spend as much vital time with their children. And then you have to look at, I've dealt with this with my children, and I have all the time in the world to deal with my children. I have the assets to deal with my children. And, they've never been on a school bus, and so for me, they still have cell phones, right? They're 14 and 12. If I don't talk to them about all of these significant issues in regards to sex slavery, being kidnapped, being abducted, right? You have a whole world trying to prey on our children. And, I heard the Queen Kalima talking about not talking to our children about sex and things like that. I think that that was the only thing, one of the few things that I pushed back on in regards to is how you communicate certain things. I think that adults and a lot of people over-sexualize certain situations in regards to our children. And I think that they're the sickos, not the kid. Like, I don't think that, if you're over-sexualizing a child for wearing a bathing suit or something like that, they're kids. Like, that's something that you need to deal with in therapy. I feel like a child should have the opportunity to just be a kid. And if you're not going to move in that realm, then teach your children about the dangers of the world in an honest platform. Not that fucking cats, run away to a faraway land or whatever. You know what I'm saying? It's like, we put the cat in the earth, we put the cat back into the earth. That creates a spirit, that is back into the earth. We all go back into the earth. And the same thing with sex. If you don't teach them properly, if you don't teach them what you want them to learn in the right way, they will go to fucking Pornhub and they're gonna watch Asian chicks fucking each other, and that's a fact. Okay.
Yo, Ray, question real quick while everybody's in here. What proper age do you guys feel like you should talk to kids about sex?
Great question. Great question.
Right.
Yeah. You know what?
I would like to answer that real quick, with my experience. As soon as your children are old enough to tell you, right, to verbalize, and I'm gonna just, the one thing that I did that I was really winging it, because I think what we also talk about is how many fathers that we're able to connect with, how many mothers we're able to connect with in regards to our children and see what works and what doesn't work. What I basically just use my kids as guinea pigs for a better ways to explain it. My daughter, I never changed her diaper. Never changed it. When that little girl came out, me and my wife discussed it. I said, yo, I don't really feel comfortable, cleaning her, kind of getting in there. Like, I just didn't feel comfortable with that. So I never changed this girl's diaper. She literally, her whole life was changed by my wife and my grandmother. And there was one instance where she was going through potty training where I had to change her or she was going to get a rash. And when I say that we had never talked to her about, her body or anything, because I move in kind of like a content space. I try to see if it's okay for me to touch you, okay for me to approach you. And that's male or female, right? Like, I just respect people's space. And so for me, when I told this little girl at 2 years old that I needed to change her diaper, when I say that my homie flipped out on me and I had never seen her act like that. Like, she was like, no, and she couldn't even really verbalize it, but she felt uncomfortable because it had never happened. She wasn't sensitized to me being a person, a man in her space like that without permission, and she wasn't fucking with it. And she's 12 years old now. She's all about black women. She's all about women, right? Like, I think a big part of what we teach our kids is also through our actions. And if you can say one thing, right? But even when we talk about cuss words and what rap does and all this shit, I that's kind of a farce to me because I feel that I cuss. Just because I cuss doesn't mean my children are allowed to cuss. Just because, and this whole idea of bad words or bad dialogue, there's only adult circumstances and circumstances that we effectively place on our children. So I say, yo, these are adult words. When your ass is old enough to pay a bill and when you out here moving in the world and you have more structure, a more verse dialogue, then you can say whatever you want to. The funny thing about it is I can't even get my kids to play cuss. I can't even joke with them because they're like, Dad, that's kind of, they look at me as immature on some real shit. And it's really how you move through the world. Like, I think that honestly, if you're saying don't do something and you're an adult, and this goes for everybody, if you tell your children don't do something and then an hour later they see you doing the same shit, you're literally being the first liar that they know. So I just think that when we're talking about this, we have to be real with ourselves, honestly, like that ass. Good question, right?
When it comes to children, though, when it comes to children,
Right, being real with ourselves. Hey, me and Ray both, like, we can only go so far as like talking about like how how early or we should or should not educate our children. I think that's a woman thing, and I think because of the a woman going through her maternity and being pregnant, and I've seen my kids' moms do it. I'm sure my mom did it to me. They talk to kids while they're in their stomach. I think the education process starts there. I mean, if I'm ignorant in saying that, please correct me. But I think it starts.
Oh, you're spot on, brother. Spot on.
Exactly. So not to say that Ray isn't right at starting at 2 and all of that. I just think it happens a lot earlier than that. I think the music that you play for your baby while in the womb is important. I think the conversations that women have with their children are important. I think that you do see a difference in children when, say a mother was very vocal or played, a Nina Simone or different type of poetry or talked to her baby or sung to her baby. Like, you do see calmer and more educated children when they're growing in the early stages. Any woman touch on that?
well,
Hey, gang, quick question. I don't mean to interrupt real quick, but before the women, I'm a father of 2 boys. This is Big Easy talking. I'm a father of 2 boys. I just want to ask you all, because I read this book. It's called Next Net, and it's by Dr. Lila Isaac. And in this book, he talked about how the man prepares for the bringing in of the child. You made great points about the woman. How they bring in the child, but he also made very specific points on how the man brings in the child, because that spiritual connection is very strong. So to the men, how do you get in game already?
That's cool, but I'm gonna have to toss that to the side for a second because nothing really happens like without a woman. And I create these rooms, bro, and I will stand in the space and protect women and make sure that they get the floor, that they are heard, because a lot of what's going on in the black communities and our digression and our stagnant just our stagnant aura overall has a lot to do with us disrespecting Black women. So I'm gonna just pass the space. Not saying that you're being disrespectful and bringing it back to us, but I just want to give it to the queens because I just want to let them have the floor for a second. Then I'll get back to you, B. Keezy. And I do understand, and I do want to hear about how we can help the education, in the early stages. So go ahead, anybody.
This is Kalima. I wanted to say a piece on, in the nation, we say, if you want to teach a nation, you teach the woman. Because just like Gabe said, it really is the woman is the first teacher, but she is 75% of the work is with the woman. And we have to agree that the term with means that it is with the Black man, but our children come through us. So when he said that we have to go through the womb, it actually goes before the womb. It goes before the level of procreation is in the mind first between the man and the woman of what they want to bring forth into existence with each other. And if they have created that love between each other, that friendship, that energy that can transpire to the womb, and that's when the woman starts to create, that energy within her own self. Because I know as a pregnant woman, when I was pregnant last year, I went through a lot of things with my husband. And I know a lot of us who are married, the first 3 years of your marriage is usually the hardest. And so many things transpire to where I had to have unwavering faith in myself. So I started to, I know that I was challenged because I found out that I was pregnant around the same time that I was going through challenges with my husband. So I knew that I could not transfer this energy to my child because I know that that's what a woman has the ability to do. She has the ability to put fear on her child, to put sickness, to put any kind of energy that's conjured in her mind first. So what I had to do to myself in order to say that Kalima, through regardless of any situation that may occur to you, God got you. You're going to be good regardless of any circumstances. So I started to pray over my child. I started to sit in the sun more. I started to give my child that energy, and I talked to my child, and I prayed to God to really take the fear off of my womb so that my child wouldn't come out with sadness, with sickness, with an energy that I knew that I could bring into existence if I was not careful and detailed about how I thought about my child. And that's why I said yesterday, as women, we really have to take our roles seriously because nobody else is going to take it as seriously as us. So when I say you're not supposed to watch television because you're putting images and thoughts, because you are one with your child, with God, procreating that child into existence. So the first teacher comes through the mother first. It comes through the womb. And also as a mother who watches her young daughters, look at their, their own body parts and they're learning themselves. I know that there's a lot of sickness in this world. And I don't want somebody else naming my child's body parts before I can tell her exactly what it is, what she has between her legs. Because I tell my daughter, and she's 5 years old, I'm saying to her, you have a vagina. You know what I'm saying? I don't want somebody to name it a flower or some place, some other thing. I want her to be real with herself because we got to also understand that we don't understand that our children are really evolution and evolve past us. And we don't give the children that credit that and if you look at yourself as a child, your own self, you knew that when you were a child, you observed and witnessed many things that many people didn't think that you were aware of. So I know that my child is aware of herself, but I want her to be clear with herself because I also, when I teach my child, if someone gave the example of how to express that. She told me that she told her daughter that she has a womb and her vagina was the gateway to her womb. So you have to be sometimes colorful in how you explain to a child, but I think that you should be clear and aware. I even teach my child that she will have her menstrual cycle one day because I have to teach her about the foods that she's eating now and how it's going to change her hormones later on and the type of energy she will attract in men if she don't balance herself now as a child. I don't think that as a mother, you have to wait till your child is 12, 13 years old, coming into puberty in herself, trying to figure this out. You need to teach them now because the energy that transpires between 1 and 6 years old is the energy that they'll take for the rest of their lives. So I think that we have to do better first as a Black family, as Black couples, to create that energy before we even put it into the womb. And I want to give you a gift that if you go to YouTube and you look up Minister Archon, how to give birth to a God, it'll teach you and explain the energy transference and all of these things that you have to learn that you should input out early on. I completely agree.
I completely agree. I want to get you back on the conversation. I love when the conversation goes back into this spiritual, powerful deep realm. That's something I can really add on to. She spoke on a relationship first, right? The man and the woman. It used to be in our tribal situations, when we were in our tribal situations, in our indigenous groups, before we were taught the ways of the European mind. It was an ambition for men, for boys, to grow up and to be fathers. This was the ambition of the tribe, of the clan, right? Nowadays we don't have that. Our ambition, straight off the top, is to us to grow businesses, us to do a lot of external things. The first thought, always with the black family, it was always unity, bondage, tribe. You understand? So when we talking about relationships, I think somebody pointed out this yesterday, right? About sex. We tend to have sex based off of like, damn, I want to get a nut off. I want to make her get a cum or whatever. You understand? And so I think Shaka pointed this out, right? And he was saying how that is like destroying the like our metaphysical connection to our like with our beings and our bodies. And I gotta point this out because what I'm realizing, me as a young man, I'm making it my ambition now because I'm understanding why I used to think, damn, I just want to, you understand, be with this chick or be. I had to really delete and dissect it out of my own system because I started understanding that I got that information from seeing, from this European mindset. Then I started thinking, okay, so what's the true impact? How do I build up my character along with making sure that I'm doing what I need to do as a man to provide for a family? Well, that means I have to be intentful. I have to be extremely intentful right now with my brain there. I have to make sure that, okay, because I want a family one day, right? What comes with being a man? What comes with having a family? That means you got to be a protector. You got to be a provider. This means that you have to, you got to be able to fight for your family as well. And when you go into a situation with these type of mindsets already instilled within you, you're not just going into a relationship like, oh, I'm just trying to find love. I'm just trying to, I'm intentful about this, right? So the woman that I approach, and this goes back into honesty and trust, and this is something that we always talking about. When I come to her, right, I step to her with, first, this is what I've been thinking about, right? I want to build a family. I want to bring God into this existence. You understand me? I want to be a husband one day. I want you to be my wife. I'm very intentful about this going in, right? So if she responds to me with the same energy, then I know we've already created kind of like a egregor. An egregor is a spirit, right? This is what they've been using against our people for a very long time, especially when it comes to the music, right? Music, entertainment, the whole nine. If you all agree on something, you create a spirit around it. It's called an egregor, right? So when we are getting into relationships, little do we know it or not, if you get into a relationship just to fuck somebody, you create an egregor spirit of fucking. You understand me? So, but if you get into a relationship with the intent to build a family, that spirit of family is now going to be over y'all. So that's why when the gang spoke about, and now it happens, the real teachers, even when they in the womb, before the womb, you understand? So we got to start going into relationships with complete honesty, complete truth about what we want again as a black family. We say we want to build up businesses together as a structure, as a society. Well, it starts with our relationships between the man and the woman first.
we got to talk about these things, and this has to be our intent before we even conceive of a child, before we even, and again, the friendship part is extremely important. How do we just go straight into fucking? How do we think that sex is going to build some type of intimacy when you've already gave up all your chips? You've already gave up your body and your soul. You already gave up your energy. You already connected, created the soul tie. Nah, you got to we have to start coming to each other literally on some damn there Cinderella type of shit. We got to come to each other really back on that. Now, I want to build up this like real friendship with you. I want to build up this real everlasting connection with you that goes beyond sex. Because, yeah, we could take it deep in sex, but we can take it deeper than that in the mind. You understand me? And if we going in the mind, if we traveling in the mind together, we traveling the world together, we building this connection together, we don't even know that we subconsciously is training up our child to already have the DNA and memories of us traveling together, of us creating this bond and this strength together. So your child is already in the womb, is going to know that, now this is my parents. I see, they have the memories of you both. You are replicating yourself. And also, again, in the womb is very important, right? Because the man's voice is kind of like a teacher. It has the vibration of authority. A woman's voice have a vibration of soothing, right? So if a woman is raising a child without a man, she has this soothing voice, right? So the child is used to kind of like hearing her voice like a song. You understand me? If she ain't got that balance between, or if he ain't got that balance between, the father and the mother in the household, because that father voice brings that authority. You feel me? And if the mother is trying to get into an authoritative voice, the child is already like, wait, this is not like really resonating in my mind. Because again, we got to understand that our bodies are 75% water. Just like how my sister Kalima said that that 75% of work is with the woman. That's because water is feminine. And the energy and that we resonate in our body, and this is why the vocal tone is very important, and why of course, it's the structure between the man and the woman, right? We have to start being extremely intentful in healing our family structure, because this is the things that helps to build us as a family, as a tribe, as a people, to where we no longer have this self-hate, to where we no longer seeing things.
Also, Bashir, this is Kalima again. I just wanted to vet you back off of that.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
The thing that we have lost in relationships is that we don't ask questions anymore. We don't ask the right questions to each other. In the nation, we have a courtship process, and we have this process because we need to court the person and figure out what's in your mind first before I even make that sexual interaction with you. There's questions like, and I know so many of us, especially women, we become timid and we become insecure sometimes when we are with the person that we admire and want to be with, but we're not fully ourselves. And some questions, just to give you an example, are asking a man directly, have you ever been sexually molested before? And having that dialogue to where we get to the root of each other, to where we know where we come from, to where we know if we even have compatibility from our childhood. Because so many of us come from broken homes. Some of us may come from a home that's well established. But if you look at the energies between parents, then it will show you what you will have to deal with a person based off of his relationship to his mother and his relationship to his father, or her relationship to her mother and her relationship to her father. See, it's really scientific when it comes to the mating process of the black man and the black woman. We just haven't got to that. We will skip stages, and that's why it's imperative that we stop having sex before we enter into relationships, because sex clouds the mind. It is the lowest form that we can use, in order to love each other, but it is a high form. We should have sex. It is natural, but before you even get to that process, you really need to know who you're dealing with. And no, you're not going to know that person in their entirety, because most of the time people don't really know themselves. It is a growing process, but you really do have to ask questions. And there's another thing to where if a person has been in past relationships, especially past marriages, you should ask that person to talk to the person that they were with before, so you can get clarity on the situation. Because a lot of times you don't even know that you're dealing with an abuser, that you're dealing with a user, somebody who cheats all the time, or somebody who's a liar. And so we go into these relationships not really knowing what we're dealing with. We're being manipulated into relationships, and then we realize that the person that we came to know months later is not even the person that we began with, because we allow sex to go into the mind and cloud our judgment. So I just wanted to say that it's time for us to be real with ourselves and be your transparent self into a relationship. I'm not saying go ask 99 questions at the beginning, but you need to be real with who you are, because you know when those red flags occur and you're shutting them down and you're still going forward with something that you know is toxic to you.
Absolutely.
I think something that we like we started off.
She talked about some of the questions that we're not asking. She talked about, women asking men if they've been molested in the sexual sense. But are there some questions that really, when starting a new relationship, that we should be asking or that aren't getting asked, just to give a little bit more information on a takeaway that some people, questions that people could be asking that maybe they just don't know to ask?
I think questions about your parents' relationship. Were your parents in a happy or peaceful relationship? What that looked like to you? What do you think love is to you? Do you want to have children in the future? Asking a woman, have you been abused before? Who were you abused by? Because at the end of the day, when you're having sex with somebody, you're giving your DNA, your energy, and transferring that. So why not ask these questions? Why not get to the root of who a person is? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you plan on raising your children? What is your religious background? Are you spiritual? So, there is a list that I could probably send everyone if I can get that list. But there are courtship questions that are real questions when it comes to, how we deal with another person. Because I know that there are so many people that hide themselves. And I only brought up men when it came to the molestation question, because I know, for instance, a lot of women deal with men who have been molested, but they have never spoken about it. And so you're dealing with an energy of a man who has been traumatized in his life. And of course, he doesn't want his woman to know this. And so she's dealing with an energy that she has nothing to do with. And she may be putting it on herself as though I may not be fulfilling my role as a woman correctly, but in truth, it has nothing to do with you. Because I've known women who dealt with men who were extreme alcoholics, and she didn't know why he was abusing alcohol so much. So it's just those signs that you got to look for in each other, because the signs always present themselves. You know when something's not for you, but you choose to go along further in that agenda anyway. And I know that we all have these questions, and we got to ask people, what is your stance on business? Do you plan to acquire any business in your future plans? You know what I'm saying? Or do you plan to just work a job for the rest of your life? You know what I'm saying? It's just those type of questions that you got to really be clear with another person, so that you know the type of future that you have instilled with them.
Thank you. Kalena's speaking from a historical fact, because if you look at other cultures, and I'm just using one example, but if you look at the Victorian era, if I was 16, 1700s, if I'm dating a woman who wears glasses, or bifocals that they call it at the time, you bring that woman home, your family would say, no, son, you can't marry her. Your children will be. So we've gotten completely away from that. I'm not saying you should discriminate anyone based on whether they wear glasses or not, but we've gotten completely away from what the sister's talking about and what Bashir was talking about earlier. It's something way deeper in our connectivity than just, oh, I love him, oh, she loved me, or she looked fine, or she got a nice ass, or this, that, and the third. And that too, I think, needs to be taught. So I appreciate the comments.
And just one thing to add to that real quick is that, it may not need to be said, but the same thing in regards to like every room with an exit sign. I'm sure you know what the door is, but they put it there for your safety. please be respectful to the information that you are asking from a potential spouse or a spouse, and just take care of it as if it's your own. Right? Because I've seen a lot of people talk about, you know, what women should ask men and what type of conversations to get into, and I 100% agree. I'm not one of those individuals that's struck by any limitation in what I would share with a potential spouse or a friend or whatever, but I do think that you have to understand that a lot of people sometimes aren't ready for that information and the way that they misuse it in regards to, let's say that you're dealing with someone. I've seen this. I think everybody on the panel seen someone that's misused information that was shared with them through a spouse when they're going through times of stress or strain with that individual. And I would just say that as we all weaponize it. Yeah, they weaponize it. So, you know, so when we talk about men being open about feelings, this is the most and the most impactful space I've ever been on, where there's so many different men from different walks of life that some of them have been single, some have been in relationships a long time, and I'm getting a lot of clarity from the game and from so many other brothers on here, because you kind of go through the world as a man, and one of the, you know, and I'm not going to put myself in a categorized as one of the solid ones, you know, because I think there's so many, but I do also feel that when we think about ourselves, there's a lot of protection and a lot of ways that we kind of distance ourselves from a lot of those conversations when it comes to that, because, you know, we're really shielded from being able to share that with our spouses, because, you know, and I'm not saying this, I'm not trying to start any major issues, because that's not, you know, what I personally feel, but I do feel, okay, so what I feel is when we were talking about, you know, sharing these things and different things, like even me, I'm being open about talking about my past in regards to my criminal history, right? Like on this app, I don't know nobody on here, right? And so that's my personal business. Do with it what you will, but I think that if we can speak from a place of love and intention, like true intention, and just say like, okay, like on some true intention, it's like if a man tells his woman, right, he is telling you because he loves you and he trusts you. Please, ladies, please, if you've never been told this before, that is your information now, and you have to protect it regardless of being in that relationship with that man or not, or if you guys fall out. Now, if it's something like abuse or something like that, what I don't like and what I've seen a culture of is y'all be protecting the fuck out of that shit. Like, it'd be like, yeah, he beat my ass and threw me down steps, but there's no name attached to this guy. But, you know, in regards to, you know, what you do sexually in the bedroom with your man, or what may have happened to him in his past, I see that being shared on men. It's like, and it's crazy, because I look at it as fuckery, whether it's happening to a man or to a woman. And I don't condone and most definitely think it is fuckery for any man to make a woman feel diminished or lesser because of her past experiences, whether, you know, regardless of what they may be. And that's just what I want to say.
Hey, real quick, let me talk. I text Amber, which is a friend of mine in real life. She's a school principal. She's also a young African American mother, and she had some things to say really quick. And then I want to toss it to somebody that I know is going to help Veggie back off of what Ray was saying. And for me and Ray, they're going to be helpful. So Amber.
All right, so there's a lot of direction going on, like, you know, how you can outwardly improve these relationships or when you have these communications. And I want people to be very careful doing that, because your spirit may not be ready to do those things. One thing you have to do first is make sure that you're operating from your spirit and not your flesh. You can't handle the response of those questions that you ask someone if you're not operating from your spirit yourself. So the first thing that everyone has to do, because I'm worried that a lot of people will run out now and they're like, okay, I want this relationship, so I need to ask these questions. You got to be very, very careful with that, with that action, because first you got to be operating from your own spirit and yourself. Your own spirit has to win more battles than your flesh. If your flesh is not currently, or you're currently led by your flesh, let's say you're just, you know, kind of not making the best decisions when it comes to life or relationships, you have to like intentionally work on those before they'll get better, but you have to work on yourself before those can get better. So I would challenge everybody to ask yourself before you start having outward conversations, ask yourself, are you operating from your spirit and not your flesh? Because when your flesh wins more battles, that's how you lose. Your spirit has to win those battles over your flesh. You have to be able to deny flesh and let the spirit make your decisions. And you'll know, because your relationships will improve. The intent behind the conversations, the communication will improve when you operate from your spirit. That's all I want to say.
You're so fired for that. Just distinguishing flesh from soul and how to not ignore the signs and to understand where information is being processed from both. Because again, you can be confused by your flesh and your soul. So, and I have been. I'm like, again, when we have these conversations and you guys make points or say things that like set off bombs inside my soul, I'm gonna speak on it. So thank you, Amber. I appreciate you. What I wanted to do is because I heard us talk about relationships, marriages, children, how to make everything coexist in harmony. And I can't give enough flowers to a recent friendship and a family that I've been inducted to in Fox and Rob. I want to welcome them to the stage, and because I love hearing Fox and Rob speak, being that they've been together for 20 plus years, been married for I think 21. They have six very intelligent kings that they have raised and are still raising, and I can't just, like I said, I can't commend them enough, and I look up to them. My big brother, my sister, and shit. Like, I gotta bring them to the stage. I do it every time they're in the room because I know that they can shed light on a bunch of the things that we're talking about, especially some of the questions and points that Ray brought up.
Ray, peace and love, everybody. How y'all doing up in here today? Peace and love.
How y'all doing?
Peace and love, Queen. Peace and love.
Love you. We love y'all. You guys, I get so tickled every time one of the notifications come up in the clubhouse because I'm like, Gabe and Gigi and Lolo, all our family is in there, and they are talking about this thing that Rob and I believe so deeply in, and that's love. Life's only valid expression, as Rob says in our I'm just going to go and put it out there in the atmosphere. And our front runner for the Oscar in 2021 Time movie. So, you got to claim it all the way around us. But you guys are just kind of like in a lot of different conversations today. When we chimed in, we saw that the topic was why do black people hate to see other black people win? And of course, I think the core of what we are all looking to build up on in that is just our relationships with one another. And I probably would kick off my rendition of just saying that why is it so hard for us why is love such a difficult subject matter for us? And why are we not willing to be vulnerable to the gift of love? When we know that love is the most divine chemical in the universe and it dissolves everything that is not of itself. Anytime that we have an opportunity to pick an emotion, we choose resistance instead of just choosing to operate from a system of love. So whether we apply that love in how we raise our children, one of the things that I have realized growing up, if you were poor, raising a family through 21 years of incarceration, serving time in prison myself, coming home and for the next 18 years of my freedom, working to free my husband to come home to me and our 6 sons. No matter what financial position I lived in with my children, they could always compete and resonate amongst the crowd because you could see love radiating from them. Often when we get some type of affluence, we think that the more things we give our children, the greater their self-confidence is going to be. And at the end of the day, you can look at any child in any socio-economic situation, and you can tell the child that is loved with money, and you can tell the child that is loved without money. But the great equalizer in all of this is love. And it is the freest shit we got access to, but yet we decide to use it the least. Love don't cost you shit, but we refuse to give it to one another. When I was in prison, I got an email from a young newsletter that Yamula Van Zant would send out with her prison ministry, and it really changed my life so much so that every time I get on here, I want to share it with you all for those that may have missed it before. And that is, in the newspaper article, she complained about all the love she wasn't getting in her life, and then she just paused and Spirit told her, Amber, she said Spirit told her, stop looking for love everywhere you go and start taking love with you. Be a vessel for love. And so I took
that, and instead of sitting there on my bunk in this dorm room with 75 women, wondering why the hell these people had to send me to prison, knowing that I wasn't a threat, knowing that I left 4 babies behind, 7, 4, and 10-month-old twins, that my husband had been sentenced to 61 years in prison for taking $5,000 goddamn dollars. I had to really question my state in life, and instead of being angry, I began to say thank you. Thank you. Gratitude, to show love to the people that sent me a little money on my books, to the people that went and bought my children school clothes when I went off to prison and dropped them off at my mother's house. The people that would send me money on my books and I take half of what I got and put it on my husband's books because nobody was sending him money. You know, so it's just a matter of when we take time out to give and to bring into this world, into this space, what we know every human being needs. We all need this shit. At the basis of everything and it all. One of the other challenges for me when Rob we were, probably about 14 years into our prison time, 15 years into our prison time, and just challenged. We knew he should have been home by now. Couldn't believe that he was still gone. And I had to ask myself, and people around me would say, Child, you think he gonna come home and be with you? I mean, that's a big risk. You done gave your whole life for this man. One, they failed to understand that I wasn't giving my whole life to this man. What I was giving my life and my commitment to was my family. Because as the woman, I am the carrier of the womb, and all life comes from the womb. So to protect the family is my responsibility, I feel, as a woman. And so in protecting my family, that means that I had to stand with my family through whatever we were going through. And so it couldn't be because I thought that he was going to come home and do everything that I wanted him to do and how I wanted him to do it, or that even was the possibility that when he got out of prison that he didn't have to come home at all. So my love and my commitment to my family had to be there in place because it was something that I really wanted for myself rather than something that I was doing out of expectation. I said all that to say is that many of us give love, but we give it with the expectation of getting some shit back, and it don't work that way. Somebody say speak Fox Rich.
Wow.
So I'm grateful that when Rob came home that it was everything that I had ever dreamed of, y'all. And I will be honest in saying it has been so much more love than I ever even imagined for me and my family. But it's because I didn't give the love with expectations. I gave the love because that's what I wanted to do. And that's my take on it.
Hey Fox, you know I love you like cook food, but I can't let you conclude without hearing from Rob, as it you guys are a union, and you know how much I admire and appreciate and respect you guys. I got to hear from Fox and Rob.
No, well, thank you, Gabe. You know, the brother over here killing on me today, trying to get ready for this 2021. So,
Man, how y'all doing? Definitely thank you as always, man, for bringing us up on stage. And again, just taken by the subject matter that you guys have on the table. Even though it's taken different directions for the time that we've been on, but conversations that need to be held and had nonetheless. I wanted to go back to something that one of the sisters made mention earlier, and I think that was Sister Kalima, when she was talking about how to give birth to a God. It was one of the pivotal words, I guess you could say, that came from the minister during my period of incarceration, because knowing that Fox and I had children of our own, and we're continuing to bring children into the space. If you get an opportunity, for anybody that's listening that is hopeful to be able to bring children into the world, I think that it is a must listen to piece of work from the minister, because it gave both myself and Fox the groundwork by which to bring kids into the world. And as much of you have already chimed in on, it doesn't, there are different stages that all of this happens at, but at the beginning stages of it all, if there is such a thing, when we're talking about the beginning stages, then I think we both, men and women alike, have to put ourselves in the right mindset when we're talking about bringing, whether it's love that we're looking to create, or whether it's a family that we're looking to create, or children that we're looking to create. Love has to be the very first thing. It's it's as alphabetic or as ABC as anything else that you do when you're trying to bring it into the world. I mean, when you get ready to plant something, I mean, you gotta till the ground first, then cultivate it. After you cultivate the ground, you gotta plant something. Once you plant something, you gotta keep a watchful eye over it, because you gotta snuff out all of the weeds and stuff like that would tend to grow around it and take life from it. You gotta fertilize it, you gotta water it. And then, when harvest time comes, there's a certain way that you got to treat it. So my harvest has come after 21 years and 4 days of incarceration. And the way that I've been treating the harvest being that of my family, the thing that Fox and I worked hard to create for ourselves was our family reunification. And I've spent every waking day since I've been out, reassuring her and reassuring my family that love is what got us to this particular point, and love is what will definitely see us through. So again, to everybody that's listening and on the phone, it's got to be love. I mean, without that element or that ingredient, whatever it is that you're trying to build, it's going to fall short of whatever your expectations are, because love is absent.
Hey, and to Veggie back, this is great, y'all. I've been listening and I've been soaking in this game, and shout out to everybody who's but I've experienced this love that Miss Fox was talking about, but with the expectations of something, and that's very scary. It was from a close friend who helped me get where I am, and it felt like manipulation in the end. It felt like I was like something was taken away from me, because I was all in. I was like, I really care. Like, I wasn't doing it for anything but the love of my craft and the love of the opportunity that I was given from this person. But when this person seen me progressing, and it all falls back to the topic, when this person seen me progressing and I received a bigger opportunity, not necessarily say a bigger opportunity, but the next opportunity to continue my career, that love that he was all about it just seemed like it was like, okay, it wasn't real. It wasn't the real pure love that he claimed it to be, because in the end, he had a problem with me actually getting that next opportunity, and me taking that opportunity, and God behold, that opportunity got me out of that situation. But it's like Miss Fox hit it right on the head, and I just had to speak on that because I experienced that love with expectation, and it's a scary thing. So definitely, if you showing love, it gotta be from the heart and from the bottom, from within, with no expectations back. Because if you have any expectations, it's just not real at all.
Not at all. Ray. I'm just gonna add to that. I'm sorry, and I just wanted to add to that thought, Ray, is that love changes, right? It don't stay the same. It grows, it ebbs, it flows, and we just have to be able to, when love is present, you enjoy it for the moment, but it's for a reason, a season, and sometimes a lifetime. So when love makes modification, what we need to be doing is just being grateful that you had the experience to love. That old saying, that the adage that says that it's better to have loved and to have lost than never to have experienced love at all. If rather I didn't go any further, I know what it means to experience love. And that has made the whole quality of my life better. Just to know love, no matter how long we get an opportunity to know.
I didn't I didn't felt love before, let's say, another person felt love for me, and then vice versa. And I always hate when I tell, when I've told in the past, I've told like a person, doesn't necessarily have to be a woman, but it could have been my brother, you know what I'm saying, or just somebody I just met. And me, I'm a free expresser of love. Like if I love you, I love you, and I love all y'all, you know what I'm saying. because I want you to know that I do. I love y'all for coming into the room. I love y'all for being honest and transparent. And I hate when people say, "Oh, you love me." What? You don't even know me, but I do. I know myself. I know your sister. I know your brother. I know us as a people. I do love you. And so, yeah, man, sometimes you just gotta let love grab your ass and just throw you in the love pot and make love gumbo. So you ask, you know what I'm saying? Get back out here and spread it and be forthcoming, man. Just be honest, man. Like, love is beautiful. We always try to retract love or take it back or not give it. Just let love exist, man. You have to, man. I swear to God, it's a beautiful thing. K. Cola had I think somebody wanted to speak or something. And then, you know what I haven't heard from Blue Pillar, man. I'd like you to just bless us with something, man. Some astrological type of love or black something, man. Black star, educate me, man. But Kay, do your thing. I think you had somebody that wanted to say something. Kay Cola, you there?
Oh, hey, yes. Sorry, guys. This is so amazing. I brought up my friend, Mr. Rob Howard, who actually works with the youth, and he's had several youth programs. And so my question earlier, kind of to dial it back in about character building, I think he'll be very helpful in offering character building tips, especially for children, because I think that it starts there. So, Rob, if you are here, can you unmute your mic?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah, welcome,
Rob.
Welcome,
The conversation's been rich. I appreciate everybody who's moderating and keeping this conversation going. My intention is love, so I just want to just bring that and bring that first. I want to contribute with the conversation. And my intention is always to heal 7 generations behind me, my ancestors, and do good for 7 generations forward. I'm a father, I'm a friend, and as much time as I got, that's what I'm here to do. And what I found is my passion is for young people. My passion is for black people. My passion is for people. And there's a joy that comes in when I'm around young voices playing and learning and growing. They teach me something about myself. In front of the 80s in LA, Inglewood more specifically, my parents were older. I just lost my father on Christmas. My mom passed in 2007. So while they were working, sometimes the TV was the babysitter. I don't have no brothers and sisters. I don't have no family on the West Coast. So the TV was what I was able to be entertained by and taught by. And there were shows that we had on public access and different cartoons on regular TV before cable that taught me or reminded me of things, taught me alphabets to practice with, music to sing and dance with, like Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, shows like that, right? And I think that we have this awakening as black people right now, where we're very conscious about, some of us are very conscious about what we put in our bodies and what we give our children as far as food. And we're mindful about water, and we're mindful about sound and frequencies, but not everybody's there. And I respect that people are on their journeys. For me, I believe that my purpose here, one of the things that I'm supposed to do is to produce a show. Because I think that when you're talking about earlier, you know, at what age do you teach different kids different stuff? Our kids get what we give them. So if I'm eating McDonald's, my kids get McDonald's, right? If I'm watching a movie like this, maybe I'm not conscious of how that impacts my child's spirit, my child's mind, my child's development. So I'm producing the show independently, not selling it to nobody. Where I'm not the black. I've learned on YouTube how to sew, made puppets. My first character has locks, and he sings lullabies. And there's going to be a whole other cast of character kids that are all puppets in my classroom, where I'm encouraging them to pursue their dreams with creativity, but empowering them to teach the lessons. And having this type of a show, I think, is just one opportunity, because the kids are going to look at shows. They're on their devices. I don't know if you have kids that like Baby Shark or whatever the heck they like, but there's something valuable there, right? And sometimes that moment isn't even really about the show. It's about the moment with the family. Seeing grandma, seeing dad, seeing brother sing and dance together is love, is a loving expression that's free. And I think that other people of other cultures have tapped into that, and they've taken over that. But that's a spot that I think we're missing. And I just want to encourage that the things that we're doing in our household, being mindful and conscious, to teach it to the level that they can understand it. Math has levels, right? Like my son is about to be 14 next month. So I talk to him at the level that I think he can get it and a little bit above it. But I give space if he's not there yet, right? Without fear of being stupid or crazy or weird or bad because he doesn't understand it the way I'm explaining it. Because it's my responsibility as a teacher is to teach it how he can receive it. I think that's another thing that's wrong with our educational system. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I was listening. The reformation of our educational systems is that we've lost, in America specifically, talking about Black people in America, we lost power of our educational systems when we integrated, right? That was one of the negative byproducts of integration, is that the Black school, the Black community, the Black economy got dismantled in a very intentional way with that. And me speaking to what Black education looks like, every Black school I go to, from the, not just Black, inner city poor too, where all our brown, undocumented, our LGBT, all those kids, our foster kids, kids who are formerly locked up, those young people are disengaged because our educators are not as engaging. They don't feel the love, they don't get the love, they don't give the love in a way that they can receive it. So I just want to encourage us to, as we're growing and healing as young adults and adults, to continue to love and heal with our generation right behind us, but specifically looking at our kids.
Yo, Rob, you on to something real big, man. That Black Mr. Rogers that you just spoke of. My goddaughter she's not even 3 years old yet. She turns 3 in January. And just like somebody spoke earlier saying like the television for our generation was the babysitter, that's how these kids are being raised now. The tablets, the mobile devices.
Yeah, the devices, yep.
Yeah, that's who's babysitting these kids. And I see it from my goddaughter. Like I said, she'll be 3 in January. She sits there and she watches these programs on her little tablet, and she knows how to swipe them. She knows how to mute them. She knows how to go to the next one. She knows how to do all of that at 2 years old. But I have never seen one Black face on her tablet. So and this is speaking as, a lot of people don't know this about me, but I'm a former educator. I taught school for 3 years when I was in my early 20s, and I got my master's degree in education administration. So I'm certified high school principal. And one thing that I noticed was when I got my master's, these school districts, I'm from Texas, live in Cali now, of course, but these school districts all throughout Texas started coming to the school where I was teaching at, and they were recruiting me like a 5-star athlete, because it was explained to me that the hottest commodity in the educational system is Black male teachers and administrators. So in some kind of way,
say that
you can actively convey that onto streaming platforms. My brother, I believe you are onto something huge.
I'm gonna say this because what you brought up, and I'm gonna shut up. I don't want to take a whole bunch of space in this beautiful room, right? What you're talking about, and I would love to talk more with you, bro, is the absence of Black males in young elementary and middle school age young people's lives. Not just for Black kids, but for white kids that learn about Black people and see Black people. When you look at the schools, where are the Black people in, like, not just our hoods or like Atlanta or the DMV, I'm talking about nationwide, right? The Black male, even at SoCal, I'm talking about Oakland, I'm talking about Stockton. The Black male is, if he's not the PE teacher, he's the janitor. Sometimes he might be a math or a science teacher, but it's like you might get one. So when you look at the young Black males who are going to these schools, not only are they not engaged, but listen to our conversation. I don't even know how long this room has been going on, but I've been tapped in for quite some time. Because when wisdom is going forth, even my son who's 14 he was born the year the first iPhone came out. He knows back and forth innately how to just put his finger on the screen and move it. There's something engaging there. That's not terrible. That's something that's genius, and they're using it for their own good. But how come we can't? How come we can't use the skill set of the barber or the beautician that have the ability to speak, ask questions, crack jokes, but keep the whole room engaged, kind of how the game and everybody who's moderating is doing right now. I don't know what the hell y'all doing right now where you are, but I'm in my house, I'm in my room around my people, and I'm engaged in a conversation, and I'm listening. I'm taking notes. Why? Not because I'm getting graded on it, because there's value here, there's wisdom here, there's community here. There's something that I can bless somebody else with, even if it ain't directly to me, it can get through me to that person that I just heard something for. Where have I seen that before? PE coaches, the sports coaches, ministers, barbers, beauticians, the smart person in the hood that just can captivate the audience. Why are our teachers not able to do that? Why can't our teachers talk about emotional intelligence and the curriculum that they're teaching, that they're masters of? Because our education system is not about that. It's about, did you get your degree? Do you understand these things? Not can you teach it to all the people who you will have come under you?
Yes.
Right,
and that's a big difference.
It's a model of me pouring into your empty mind because I have the knowledge they're giving to me. So my job is to pour it into you, and they grade you on how well that you received it, not grade me as a teacher how well I taught it to you.
You know what, Rob? Real quick, one of the of course, there's numerous answers to your question. One of those answers is these days the educational system is filled with people who had no other job opportunities. So they went to college, they got a degree, and I think the statistics are something like 83% of the people who graduate with college bachelor degrees never work in that field. It's something crazy like that, right? So these people are graduating, these young people are graduating with these degrees, entering the workforce, and they have no employment opportunities. So here comes these schools, elementary, middle school, high schools, and the only criteria to work at the school is, and I can't speak for every state because every state is it varies in every state, but in the state of Texas, all you have to have is a college degree, and then you can be hired, but you have to work to get a teacher certificate. It's basically a certification, and then that's all the requirements are for you to be hired as a school teacher. So here I am, 23, 24 years old, however you are when you graduate. I'm unemployed. You're going to offer me a job as a school teacher. Yeah, I'll take it. But the passion, the love, the want to is not there. So we're hiring teachers who are working in the school system only as a means of income, not as a means of passion. And we all know that if you're working in a job and you're not passionate about it, you're never going to put your best foot forward.
Yeah, connecting it to the room, like, what does that do to our people?
I've said this before because I've been in education for the past 10 years, and I have a nonprofit that's literally about everything we're talking about, from character development, and just the whole education reform. And it's kind of, I say this all the time, like, we need more Black people to become educators, because you have 100% of United States citizens have to go through a school system, right? It's mandatory. Parents, you get fined. You can go to jail if your kids are not in school. So it's going to take a lot of years for there to be a real change, but we do need Black people going to teach our Black kids, because that's where the real passion is going to come from. Like, I think it's like 86% of the population of kids is in public schools is Black and brown, and 83% of the teachers are white. And so there's a huge disconnect, because they're going off of the curriculum that's been set to be systematic racism, to teach things that we need out of, the education system. They don't teach credit for a reason. They don't teach money and financing for a reason. They've taken home economics out of mandatory things. PE is only mandatory for 2 years. They've taken like really foundational core things to our soul, our mind, body, spirit connection, and they deliberately not wanting that to be a part of what is taught to the kids. So me as a Black woman, as a Black educator, that's all of the things that I do bring into it. I taught PE for 5 years first, and then I became the dean of my school, but I use PE he as the vessel for the mind-body-spirit connection. I taught those things, and I encourage more Black people to become educators, because how else, are we going to get to that huge population of almost all of America? All of America has to go through the school system. So, and the schools are segregated still. It's still white school, Black school, Hispanic school. And so we need more Black people. We need people, period, Black people or Black, just people empowered to really empower the education system. We need help. As an educator, we need help from business people, from if you have a business, ask to go speak at your local school. And if it's a Black school, whatever, go ask to share that knowledge, because the education is the key. And if we don't get more Black people teaching our Black kids, then they only know what they know. They're only gonna know the experiences that they have. So we have to create opportunities for more experiences to happen for them to know more, for their eyes to open to more.
You're absolutely right.
The world has to offer them. At the end of the day, representation is so important, and we don't have it in our schools. Like, I'm an educator as well, and I've been in the
This is Brookie speaking.
I've been in the public school system, and now I currently work as a private school educator, and the discrepancy things me like it's really sick. Like, when I was in the public school system, I was out in Moreno Valley, and in a very underserved community, and just I couldn't even at times sit in the teachers' lounge with other teachers, because the way they would talk shit about the kids, and mind you, these are white teachers, older white teachers that have no connection to these kids at all. They don't know what they've been through. They don't know poverty. They don't know just what it is to be Black in America even. And it was just sickening to hear them talk the way they did about just we just need in our schools.
Man, that's so cool.
Like Amber said, even if it's just people to come in and speak, like, we need to emphasize the value of education and the value of the character, and just have that representation within our schools.
I don't think enough people realize the importance of representation when it comes to educators, because these kids, as my lady earlier was just saying, I didn't see who was speaking at the time, but 83% of all educators being non-Black, being white, and 86% of public schools being made up of Black and minority kids. Well, that's an underrepresented population, and we sit back and we complain about these standardized tests being racially and socially biased, but we don't have anything in place to change the narrative. When I was a school teacher, I worked in Waco, Texas. I went to Baylor University, and that's where I ended up teaching school at. But I was young, Black, and I was from the hood. And I taught at a school that was in the hood. I taught high school. I was 21 years old teaching 18-year-olds, right? But these kids were yearning for somebody who could relate to them. So naturally, they all gravitated and flocked towards me, because I never corrected, the same things that the other teachers were correcting. I understood what they were trying to convey. I knew how to translate it. And I didn't teach play classes. I taught speech communications and debate, which is a graduation requirement in the state of Texas. You got to take speech communications to graduate. And these kids would always, and they didn't know how to express themselves properly, but in a nutshell, they would always come say, the teacher doesn't understand me. Every time I open my mouth, they say I'm being too aggressive, I'm being too loud, I'm being too rambunctious, or whatever it may be. But I knew what they were trying to convey, and I knew how to communicate and deal with those type of students. And we need more people of color in that capacity, because it could be literally the difference between our kids being successful in life and our kids being given a piece of paper as a high school diploma and saying, congratulations, move on, we don't care about
it. You don't have to be a teacher to do that. You can be a business owner, you can be an entertainer, you can be these people outside with
these other endeavors, but we need you to go back into your school, find the school, whatever. That's actionable. You have to go back and give that knowledge to the kids, because right now, how it's set up, you do have to have a credential. Even if you're a teacher, you have a degree, you can only teach for like 2 years on a probation kind of credential, emergency credential, and then you have to get a credential. And so the way that it's set up, it aligns with all of the issues we have with going to college and funding, and how it's set up to kind of keep us out of college due to the money. A lot of people can't afford to go get their credential. They can't afford to go do these things. But if you don't have to become a teacher and have that credential.
Yeah, you can volunteer.
Provide that education. Right. You can create interviews.
You can even get paid to do it. That's I'm sorry. I was my fault for interrupting. I'm gonna go after you. Go ahead.
Yes, but you can create intervention programs. You can find nonprofits that are working with schools or that have connections to the schools. But you can find a way to get back, and that's going to be an actionable plan that we can do. Because I know we were talking about that earlier. Well, how can we actually create action or do things? So if you have a business, I encourage you, go find a local school. Go ask them, can you come and do a club after school? Can you, come and speak to the kids in a classroom? If you have friends who are educators, go drop that knowledge on them kids, because that is an actionable plan that we all can do to make sure that our kids are not lacking the education and they're no longer operating from ignorance, right? That's the biggest thing. A lot of our kids are operating from the ignorance, never having the experience. So if you can go get that experience, you can get that education, please go do it. Don't hold it to yourself. Go give that.
And I totally understand they have to also just reimagine, and this is Clara, by the way, I feel like we need to reimagine the way that education is delivered, period, because if you look at predominantly white institutions versus the way that, either a more inclusive or diverse school or predominantly black school or inner city school, whatever the case may be, but students are taught, I will find that in most underrepresented communities, oftentimes we kind of hit on this earlier, we're taught what to think versus encouraged to critically think and explore different ways of how to think. Everything, we talked about the different programs from financial literacy to emotional well-being and meditation. All of these things are ways to kind of open up the mind that are very prevalent in schools that have the resources. And yes, I agree that on an individual basis, an action plan is to go back to the school and speak, but that system needs to be reimagined in a way that is beneficial for our black and brown leaders that are being developed and don't have the representation there. And why? Because it's not a desirable profession. It's not something that is pushed or glorified in any of the marketing or branding that we see. In actuality, it's not a sustainable income. And my sister is in the audience. She's an educator in Third Ward, New Orleans, and has been for a while, post-Katrina. Okay, when teachers are paying for resources, paper, pens, markers, dealing with students on the autism spectrum at the same time with their neuronormative students, and they have to pull out of the very little income that they're making to just decorate the class, to get things that they need so that they can deal with behavioral issues. There are not enough resources. I mean, I'm not saying that what you're recommending isn't something that could be productive, but I also think that we can't negate the fact that the obstacles are there, and the truth of the matter is financially and from a resource perspective, it's not something that is supported the way that it should be.
So I did something that would make it a little better.
I would like to speak after that.
What we did is Houston, Los Angeles, Chicago, and Broward County have some of the largest school districts in America. So I'm just an entrepreneur. I didn't go to school to be a teacher. My background is an engineer. But what I did was I created a initiative for the community to pay teachers for their classrooms to be like decorated and all that. So I did that in 2015. We started it in 2015, and that allowed me to basically go into social emotional learning by communicating with these counselors and saying that I started my STEM program by teaching metaphysics. And at first it was just me going into the schools. And then I started having basically a residency at elementary schools, because it's easier in elementary schools to sit down and go. I have my own classroom every Tuesday at Woodson Elementary School. And then at Worthing High School, I can go in once a month and teach basically like I give a speech. It's a lecture, but it's more or less a classroom. And the way that we do it is we get paid to do it because first I went in and said we wanted to teach STEM. Then we start bringing in augmented reality, virtual reality, and like Lego toys, so people will be able to understand how to like touch and feel and build machines out of whatever we have in the classroom. I signed up online and I became a vendor. Once you become a vendor, your company is approved and you can literally start accepting funds from anywhere, or the school might not pay you if they don't have the money, because a lot of schools don't have money. So then that's when you can go qualify for grants if you got your SAMs and your guns and all that. So that's what we did. And then I go in and I teach a completely different kind of classroom through metaphysics. And the way that we relate is I make sure I wear jewelry, I make sure I wear whatever new coming out. And I go in and I pull out a bankroll in the beginning of the class and I say, if you can pay attention and listen and answer my questions at the end, you get paid. So basically I get paid to go teach and then I pay the students to learn. And everybody wins. Loves that.
Yo, real quick, can I just add to that? Can I just add to that though? Real quick.
It's really, and you're creating something outside the system. So I just, again, just kind of I'm not shunning or saying that what you all are doing. I applaud it. I think that it's necessary because as a community, we have to be invested in our youth. What I am saying is look at all the things you have to create outside of an existing system that is not designed to nurture our youth. That's all.
Because what they do is, and this is Angela speaking, because what they do is similar to what Andre was saying. What they do in the school system is they literally put a narrative on our kids that is completely like disrespectful. They simply, like, what they say to our kids is you're being aggressive. They use different types of verbiage to kind of like turn them away, like saying, oh, you're angry, you're loud, you're this, you're that. And that's similar to what both of them were saying, Andre and the other lady that was speaking. That's all she was saying. Being in the school system, when you're a person that has representation, even if you guys go to the healthcare profession, even when you go to the healthcare profession, that is the reason why we lack representation and Black women are being killed after they have children, is because there's no one in there to pretty much protect us. And so she's just saying, she's not shunning anybody that's choosing not to be teachers. All she's simply saying is that because we don't have representation, we don't have anyone to protect our kids.
And I just wanted to.
Can you let me know when I can go? This is for Sean. She was responding to what I was saying, and so I wanted to just like be able to respond to her. But the way that you put a fire out is you have to go into the fire. There's a lot of educators that know the education system has to change, but there's a chain that you have to go up because of the way that it's set up. It's right. That's how it is. It's the law. The law absolutely has to change, but that's going to take a lot of time. So I'm saying a solution in the meantime is if you have a business, if you have resources, if you have knowledge, go share that. Go create intervention programs for the kids. Reach out that way. Donate money to people who are already doing those things. Become an educator if you can. Like I knew when I went into education, sure, I'm not going to go make $200,000 off the first year or whatever a reasonable salary is. I knew that. I made that sacrifice because eventually I do want to be a part of the law that changes curriculum, because I know, what actually has to happen is that law changing. But there's a process for all of those things. And in the meantime, we don't have to be halted because, this is not going to do that or that's not going to do that. Well, it is going to help it hold things over while other changes are happening. There's a strong force of people who understand that the education system is where the fire is. Everybody's gone to school. Everybody. We've all gone through the school system. So we know that is a pivotal place to provide education, or we know that the deliberate lack of education was intentional. And so we know that and we have to fix that, but it's a process. And so in the meantime, as a solution, again, we need everybody's hands and foot. Go find your local school and get back to them. Figure out how you can create some kind of intervention. You can engage the kids. They can see something outside of what's being taught to them by people who don't connect to them. Because there are some white people, there are some good educators who do care, but they still lack a connection because of culture, basic culture. So it's never going to be as powerful as a Black person teaching them that. So that's how you put out a fire.
You can do both. You can do both.
I really want to.
fire bot, and you put out a fire, putting water on it. And
Yo.
you go into a fire by to save people. Firefighters go into fires to extract people. So if the goal is extraction and education, that's one process. Peace to the room. This is for Sean. If you want to know my background, it's on my profile. I've been listening for a while. Peace to Game, Gigi and Julian. What up, though? So I study pedagogy and a multitude of other things based on my background. So, you know, a lot of the things that you guys are talking about, if you don't know what pedagogy is, it's a study of understanding how we reimagine it and educate people in school systems. But the biggest issue that I've been hearing for the last half an hour around education is that we're not questioning in this, the source of information. We're kind of battling over the idea of how and when and who teaches our children this information. But at the root of the issue is the information. We have to ask the questions of who's created this curriculum, what is their motives, who's banking it, and who's controlling who gets what. Now I know, and this is lofty. I'm not saying everybody has this capability. I designed my life to where I could have it, but 2020 has made it to everybody has now joined the club as far as homeschooling to some degree. I've homeschooled my daughter since she was born. I was also just able to adjust me and my ex-wife's life to accommodate that. We as a people must consider and accept the fact that the people who control the curriculum don't have us and our children in their best interest. And we also have to understand the history of school and why it was designed and why it was structured in the way it was, and to separate families and to get control over and over again so they can dictate the information that the young minds have, therefore making better employees and agreeable humans. Now, if we are a group of people who have great concern about the development and advancement of our people, and based and centered around the education of our children and our youth, our community, we more so need to put more energy in what ways may we solve the problem of not having access to the minds of our people and the minds of our children. And that's not so much about who's teaching the curriculum that the slave master gives us, but more so how do we create the curriculum, have the correct curriculum, and how do we control what we feed our children, not just with food and water and information and music, but in education and academia, understanding what having actual history and having actual platform where we can control and dictate. And one of the first ones we could do that is homeschooling and homeschooling communities. I'm not saying that's the easy lift. I know it's challenging and difficult, but to reimagine the process, we more so about, first of all, what's the actual problem? Do I want to solve it, or do I want to try to adjust somebody else's process? And what we have to understand about Europeans is that they're really good at controlling narrative and keeping their power. And by no means are they in a position or will allow themselves to be in a position that they will accept us going into their system and changing it if they can help it. So we have to figure out how can we extract and create a process in which we control how we learn without becoming a threat to them where they want to rebel and blow us up or burn us down or come assassinate us. I have much to say, but I'll digress.
Can I speak to that? And I agree with you 100%. That's what I was trying to get. And edgewise, in regards to me and what I've done since 2008, I've owned a fitness center. We focus on like mixed martial arts, boxing, a place for the kids to in the neighborhood. I was downtown in Louisville, Kentucky, where Breonna Taylor was murdered by police, justice for Breonna. But I was a couple of blocks away from several schools. My son went to those schools. He was in an engineering program at those schools. He would come to my facility, which was about 6,000 square feet, every day after school program. I ran that. And initially, it was a for-profit business, which turned into me basically donating time and the resources. And I had over $200,000 worth of equipment. I'll post a picture to my Instagram so you can see the facility. Ultimately, we would have children from different neighborhoods come in, learn how to communicate effectively between each other. These were kids from different neighborhoods, a lot of times from rival neighborhoods where bodies were actually taken down, and so there was very real animosity. And so in regards to them looking for different avenues to learn, I think that a lot of children, especially our children, they don't, if we're just being honest, I don't think anybody wants to be in a state of chaos all the time, or a state of discourse all the time. So if you're allowing these children to come into these spaces, what I learned is you have to be 100% dedicated to it. I made zero money. That was not the way that I fed my children. I was spending and not to get too deep, but it was well over $10,000 a month maintaining this space for over 10 years, okay, for our children. All right. And so I was building and I started to create spaces for them to come in and learn how to use tools. I started creating spaces for them to come and learn trades, carpentry. Even though I think health and fitness plays a very major space with our holistic discoveries of ourselves and our mind and our spiritual belief systems and things of that nature. But I also, at the end of 2019, 2020 was supposed to be the year when we were able to open up a facility, and I was going to reestablish the facility in the likeness of education and learning through trades. I'm teaching young men how to do metalwork, welding, getting certifications in welding, tech, big, and also putting these things together in structural forms, making furniture, structures, container homes and things of that nature. Learning how to operate and manage machinery and fix and maintain machinery. So there are a lot of things when we talk about education that people just don't do. Like, it's like, our culture, there's, you can make almost $200,000 being a welder. You understand what I'm saying? So there's ways that we can get our children out of the rut. I am a high school dropout. I dropped out at 15 as a junior at 15 years old. I was in advanced classes all the way up to that point. And what I realized is that I didn't fit in, and this was just my personal testimony in regards to the education system. I was so ahead in certain things that we would have papers that we would have to write and then get up in front of the class and speak. I hated writing the papers, so I would just create the stories. I would remember what I put down on paper, and it would be a loose layout of what I was going to say. And I would go up there and I would speak for 10 minutes about, and say my whole story. And when I would go over there, she would think I have, 4 or 5 papers. I would hold the papers, which were blank, and give them to my teacher, and I would get a 0, right? So the way that we learn sometimes is a lot different compared to our white counterparts' children's and to them, and the systems that we're learning aren't even effectively benefiting us immediately. Right. So what I would say is, and I do not want to rant. I'm not going to keep on coming back and forth, to contest anyone about anything. I just think that when we're talking about education, there are so many different spaces where we're not even competing at. And when I would say about engineering space, the tech space, creating apps, building apps, coding, there's literally been master classes that people can access for like $39 or something. I see pop up on social media all the time that my kids have taken part in the whole time that they've been at home doing this homeschooling. We were going to homeschool our children going into the year anyway. So I think that it is something that Fashawn said in regards to homeschooling and thinking about really practical ways to get into that and feeding your children knowledge. We should have never, and no one should ever allow any education system outside of your household to dictate everything that your child learns. And so, I'm a pro advocate for just, teaching and expanding knowledge within the home. And I hope you guys take heed to that.
The first teacher your kid should have, FYI, the first teacher your kid should have should be the parents.
Agreed.
Completely agree.
If I may drop a gem real quick, this is Kiwi. There's a book called Awakening the Natural Genius of Black Children by Amos N. Wilson. And it talks about how innately Black children come out being, quote, for lack of a better word, smarter and just a bit more intelligent than our counterparts because of the melanin that we have in our bodies and everything. And later on, the reason why we test so low with IQ tests is because why we start to fail in school systems and outside of the structural, institutional ways, but really from a contextual standpoint is the lack of love that starts and the attention that starts to kind of separate as we get older, because family, mom and daddy got like 5 jobs to pay the bills or whatever. But in that book, I do recommend people to go get it educated in those who have children. It's called Awakening the Natural Genes of Black Children, and it has all that in there. And it's a good base to start from when you thinking about how to teach and train our Black youth and our children, and how to get them to make sure that we are, competitors in the global market.
What's the name of that book again? Can you repeat the title of that book for me?
Was it Awakening the Genius in Black Children?
Yes, by Amos. I'm gonna get the last name. Our children want to learn, and I think that if we can kind of wrap our minds around just actively pursuing these things, anybody can reach out to anyone right on this platform, and I think that is again one of the highlights of today and yesterday. When I was in the room with Gigi in the game, and I really feel that there's some major work that can be taking place on this platform if we honestly want solutions, right? Like, this isn't really a space that I think people can cap on. So, like, if we really want to build certain things in certain areas, I'm sure everybody that's on here that's just as passionate as I am, and everyone else that has vocalized their passion, let's get to work then.
I reiterate, one of the biggest things that we need to worry about and be concerned about in American society, as far as educational systems goes, is the racially and socially biased standardized tests that our kids in these low socioeconomic neighborhoods cannot relate to, and we wonder why they can't pass the test. That's a huge problem.
Agreed.
No, definitely. I would just,
and I'm gonna go after Frenchie. Go.
Yeah. So I just wanted to say it is very important. Someone can mute his mic. I don't know. Chuck, mute it. Oh, that's Chuck. Oh, sorry. I just wanted to say that I think it's important to really evaluate what it means really to be Black in the American educational system. I think someone talked about representation, and that's the most important thing. Like, representation is everything. We do not control the narrative, mostly like in this educational system, and this is a huge problem. And those people do that for a reason. We literally taught what to think and how to think, and most of the time, like the way they do that, it's not in harmony with a core, essence as Black people. And side note, really, historically, all those Black colleges and universities were founded not really with the best intention. Like Morehouse, and I think it was Spelman, were funded, that was set up by Rockefeller. Were intended to actually create like working class, for Black people, and that's the reason why, like, initially they were receiving like training certificate and not really diplomas. So the main important thing in this educational system, and I think somebody just said that earlier, is really like representation and to have to actually control the narrative. So that's what I wanted to actually say. So go ahead, Gabe.
Hey, I'll say that, what a beautiful room, what a beautiful way to start off my day. Hopefully, a lot of you agree on that front. We exchanged, a lot of dialogue, a lot of information was passed back and forth, a lot of, tension and underlying thoughts. All of this is needed, the pros, and the cons, the positive and the negative, to come to one resolution, which, again, we're still in the fight. We are here. We're at the forefront. We are all kings and queens in our own right. So I will say that to say that I appreciate you guys today. Me and Gigi, we have a room that we're moderating at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central, and 10 p.m. Eastern. We invite everyone to that, and to keep coming into these rooms, if not ours, somebody else's room. And as far as like following moderators, we don't ask you, we don't force you to. But for me, today, I always like to choose, a few that are amazing. It'll be my young bro, Bashir, sister Kalima, Blue Pillar, Farrah. Like these are dope people, man. Oh, and my dear friend, Idillionaire, man. She's amazing. Even though she didn't really speak much today, I brought her up because she's just amazing. But yeah, this is just this room, right? There'll be other rooms, whether they're me and Gigi's or you guys, and we'll continue to progress, man, as a people. I think that everything that happened here today was amazing. But you know, I'm gonna close the room and end the room by just saying that, yeah, what I got out of this room.
Hey Jay, let me say something real quick.
Yeah. Go ahead, and then I'll wrap it.
For everybody that's been in here from the beginning, man, I've been taking notes, keynotes, writing down videos, books, a lot of phrases and a lot of important things that everyone has been saying from the jump. And I've been doing this for a while with a few shows that Chuck and Gigi been in. And I tell people if they want the notes, just hit me on the Twitter and they send me emails. And no lie, I've literally probably sent over 600 emails to over 600 people.
That's beautiful.
And the replies that I get, man, is like life changing. So this shit can really change your life, your perspective, and especially if you read these books or watch these documentaries or these references that I put in these notes, because I really put a lot of detail into it. So if you guys want to get the notes, just hit me on my Twitter, and I'll get back to you. I appreciate you, Chuck, Gigi.
Hey, yo, and he's,
Thank you, Game. I want to add this real quick.
Oh, good.
Before we go out, I want to thank everybody again here today. All the powerful divine, feminine energy, the powerful divine masculine energy. And I also want to throw this out there real quick. I would like to have a room one of these days. It ain't got to be soon. I would like to have a room where we are kind of like strictly talking about like our tribal energy, our spiritual energy, and what these types of things mean to our people, and how these entities and different deities, herbalism, the whole not how this has been used for our people and against us.
Yes.
You understand? So I want to have that room one day with y'all. If y'all want to do that, just
We
let me
love
know.
that. Bashir, I'm just going to say to you right now, reach out to us on the back end, and we're going to connect you with Nikki, okay? We love to make that happen for everybody, for the community, so thank you for mentioning that.
Hey, Gigi Game, I got one quick question.
Let's just as we close the room, like let's just understand that like we're coming to a close, and so some of these let's get it done. So
it's pertaining to the notes from yesterday.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Who took the notes from yesterday? I need
Kasaya.
Yes, that was me. If you just DM me, I'll send them to you.
Okay, who's talking? What's
Kasaya?
Kasaya. I'm at the middle.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and so
I appreciate everybody for dropping them jewels today, man.
Yeah, it's all good. And so what I was saying to Brother Bashir is that Gigi gonna get you with Nikki, but we don't have anything on Thursday. So I mean, I like to get it done while it's fresh on your mind and while you're passionate. You know what I'm saying, like about it. So yeah, let's try to throw that in tomorrow, man. I don't have anything to do tomorrow. But yeah, again, everybody, man, we're just thankful, man. I'm thankful that you guys are here. I'm thankful we're all transparent and as Gigi would say, the transfer of energy is at a high, very high volume. This is impactful. This is powerful. Even if one person walks out of here and changes one life, we've done our job as people in a position of power, which everybody in here has their own specific power, superhero, attributes. So again, man, appreciate y'all for coming in. I want everybody to leave here and have an amazing day. And be great today. I always like to leave with some type of song or message. And today it's going to be Gil Scott Heron, man. The revolution will not be televised. Y'all have a good day.
Thank you, everyone. This was awesome.
Thank you, James. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, conversation.
Appreciate y'all. Follow Gigi on Instagram. What's happening?
The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by Xerox and 4 Pods without commercial interruptions. The revolution will not show you pictures of Nixon blowing a bugle and leading a charge by John Mitchell, spiral actor, to eat hog maws confiscated from a Harlem sanctuary. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution will not be brought to you by the streets of a war theater and will not star Natalie Woods and Steve McQueen.